Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to the Sunday Feast class. So we will begin today's session with Mangalacharan prayers. And I have my godbrother, Ramananda Saka Prabhu, who will help us drive the PowerPoint slide decks. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priyai Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so we're going to get started with our Sunday Feast program here. So there are some images and there are some text that I've used in this presentation, and they are with the permission of BBT, and some of them are from the free domain. So just wanted to mention that here. And so first, before I go into the session today, I wanted to offer my thanks to Srila Prabhupada, because through his books, I have learned so much. And actually his books, Prabhupada, when I do the prayer, Om Ajnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya, Chakshur Unmilitam means open the eyes. And that's what Prabhupada really did for me, because I was fast asleep in a nice slumber in the lap of Maya, enjoying life. And so my heartfelt gratitude to Srila Prabhupada. And then to my dear spiritual master, Vaishishka Das Prabhu. And also to my Siksha Guru, and Siksha Guru to most of us here is our dear Shivas Pandit Prabhu, who taught me how to read Srila Prabhupada's books scrutinizingly and with a lot of attention there. And then I'd also like to thank my Prabhu, who's not here, who is here, who tolerates me all along and fills in all the gaps I do in the Grihastha Ashram. So thank you so much for that as well. And I also like to thank our scheduler, Gandharvika Radha Matiji, who wrote me last week and said, hey, do you want to cover the class? And so thank you, Gandharvika Matiji, for giving me this opportunity to present Krishna Katha before this exalted audience. So, coming here to the Sunday Feast lecture, what have we won? So, I for sure know that I won this chance for doing Krishna Katha, because when you do Krishna Katha, it is not only purifying for those who hear the Katha, but it's also purifying for those who speak. And I think it's a lot more purifying for those who speak. So that's definitely a winner for me. And what do you think you have won, right? What do you think you would win at the end of this lecture? Hopefully, you'll walk away with something. And so my question here is, what would you want to have in life? Would you like to have peace, or would you like to have happiness? 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 Somebody wants both? Lolium? Right? So, depending on, you don't know what my topic of the lecture today is, but whatever the results, they will be announced at the end of the class. But I just wanted to ask you, be prepared to know whether whatever is the result, will you be able to handle the results? And because it's an art to handle a big bonanza that falls on your head. I remember the story that I heard growing up, and that was that there was a very poor man, and he was very hard-pressed for life, didn't have any amenities. And someday one of his friends told him to buy a lottery ticket. Now, I'm not recommending that you do that, it's gambling. But he went and purchased a lottery ticket, and he won $25 million. He won that. And so those were the old days, so the check had to arrive through post to this man's place. And the postman, somehow the envelope opened, and the postman knew that this was a check going for $25 million. And he said, $25 million to this guy? I mean, he's so poor. And then he was very concerned. He said that when he comes to know that he has won $25 million, I don't want him to have a heart attack and die. So I'll just break the news to him slowly and slowly and slowly. So he goes there, knocks the door, the man opens the door, and then he says, well, you know what, I have got some news for you. So he said, what's the news? So he said, okay, let me just, want you to guess, like, what would you do if you win $1 million in lottery? So he, of course, he was in need, so he rattles off, and within, seconds, the $1 million is gone. Then he says, he bumps it up, and he says, okay, $2 million, what would you do? So he adds certain things, and another $2 million, like that they earn. It keeps on going up, like $15 million. Then he says, okay, if you won $25 million, what would you do? This man, scratches his head. He cannot find out what he can do. He's very satisfied being. So he says to the postman, I'll give the rest to you. And the postman has a heart attack. So, to handle the results of the goodness that comes out from here, you need to have a strong heart, right? So let's do an examination of your hearts, right? So how do the doctors examine your heart? They put some ECGs and all kinds of devices there, and they'll go, eh. So let's see what we found in our hearts over here. So once you do a health check, we find that there are two weaknesses of our heart. So what are the two weaknesses in our heart that we have? Love is one weakness. It's a big time, right? Love for what is a weakness? Love for relatives. Are there microphones around here? Can somebody go and grab a microphone? Get it from Ramananda? He's bringing them over. Okay, so he said love for relatives is a weakness of the heart. Good, that's a very predominant thing. Hare Krishna Prabhu? Yeah, okay. No other weaknesses? We found two. Yes,
Mataji, so there is a Bhagavatam verse which talks about Kama and Lobha.
Mm-hmm. So Kama and Lobha are
lust
also...
and greed.
Lust and greed, they are weaknesses of the heart. Right? So, so in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, what 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita about? Purushottam Yoga. How do you connect to the Purushottam? So Krishna talks about this material world, which is like a banyan tree, very, very complicated. And then he says, how do you get out of it? Sword of knowledge? Which sword? Detachment, right? So, yes, right? Asanga shastrena dhridena chitva, he says, right? Cut it off. So, in the last verse of that chapter, which is verse number 21, in the purport, Prabhupada talks about the two weaknesses of the heart. right? So I'm just going to bring that up over here. I want somebody to read it, somebody with a microphone. Oh, wow, here we go. We got front seat. So read slowly but surely.
2 weaknesses of the heart. The most important thing one has to surmount is weakness of the heart. The first fall down is caused by the desire to lord it over material nature. Thus, one gives up the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord. The second weakness of the heart is that as one increases the propensity to the Lord, as one increases the propensity to lord it over material nature, he becomes attached to matter and the possession of matter. The problems of material existence are due to these weaknesses of the heart. Bhagavad Gita 15.20. Purport.
Thank you so much for reading that, Arman. And so what are the 2 weaknesses of the heart? You have to use a microphone. Answers given outside of the microphone are not qualified for winning.
So the first weakness of heart is the desire to lord it over material nature.
Correct.
And the second weakness is he becomes attached to the matter and possession of matter once he increases his propensity to lord it over nature.
Right. So first you have a desire to enjoy, and then second one is you get attached to having it, right? For example, if you're sitting in your home and you see that in your neighbor's driveway a nice, which is the car going around these days, which is the best? I'm not a car person. Porsche? Okay, Porsche. So yeah, you see the neighbor's Porsche pull up, right? And so one day it pulls up, it's fine. And second day you start looking at it. Third day again you look at it. What's going to happen after some days? You want your own Porsche, right? That's what this verse is telling us, that this is what happens to us in life. So basically, one thing that we missed over here, and that I didn't ask it as a question, but there is some text there in blue, that when we try to lord it over the material nature, what happens? What happens?
We give up the loving transcendental service of the Supreme Lord.
Correct, Bhaktin Kennedy, for 500 points, right? So when you want to lord it over material nature, then you disconnect with the Lord. That's a very, very important point to keep in mind here, right? So we are nicely connected, but we want to be independent of the Lord. We want my independence. I want my independence. Like, even it's a property of the soul to be independent, because God also is independent and we are parts of Him. Which verse of Bhagavad Gita tells you we are parts of the Lord? Mame Vansho Jivaloke Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha Manaha Shasthani Indriyani Prakriti Sthani Karshati. And 500 points for who's going to give me the number? Number of the verse, sloka. 15.7, yeah, 500 to Bhakta Balram. Okay, so we want to be happy and we want to enjoy independent of the Lord. And so because we are parts and parcel of it, so we have got a little bit of an independence. And you can see that in a small child, right? A small child is born, very nice, cute, cuddly. The parents tell them to do something, they do it. And as soon as they learn to do a certain thing, they'll say, I can do it on my own. I can do it on my own. And that continues for the rest of their life, right? Especially gets intensified during the teenage. So we want to be happy and enjoy independent of the Lord. The key word is that we want to enjoy, right? Now, we want to do that. So this material world gets created for us, right? The material, we try to disconnect from Krishna. And so Krishna says, okay, you want to enjoy independent of me? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a playground for you. Go play, right? So He has created this material world for us to enjoy. He says, okay, you try to enjoy. And if you find you have difficulties, then there are options of you coming back. You can always give up and come back like that, right? So here we are in this material world and we are saying, okay, fine, I'll take it. So we descend from the spiritual planet where we all were there originally. And we descend from there and we are here and we try to lord it over the material nature. We try to find happiness, right? And little Bhakta Prahlad, he's telling us in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, he says, Sukhaya dukkha mokshaya sankalpa iha karminaha sadapnoti haya dukkham anihaya sukhavritaha. Anyone for translation? Okay, go for it, Sudevi Mataji. We have only one phone, is it?
Hare Krishna.
Oh, it's the one in the back. Okay, good.
In this material world, every materialist desires to achieve happiness and diminish his distress, and therefore he acts accordingly. Actually, however, one is happy as long as one does not endeavor for happiness. As soon as one begins his activities for happiness, his conditions of distress begin.
I laugh a lot when I see this because I see myself reflected in this all the time. It's such a powerful statement, coming from a little boy, right? And so, as long as one does not endeavor for happiness, and when you begin, so why does your distress begin? When you start, it's a nice journey, right? It's a nice endeavor, it's a nice start. It's a good project. I'm thinking of being happy in life, right? What's wrong with that? What happens? Why does the distress start? Okay, first question, does distress start? Or is it just me? Starts? Okay. So then you have to tell me how and why does it start? Okay, go for it. Okay. Here, and then at the back, you can take the phone from there. Yeah, you were first, yeah.
Actually, Bhagavad Gita says that happiness and distress come by their own accord, like a cycle, like winter and summer, So happiness and distress come on their own accord. You don't have to strive for it, actually.
Okay, so you have stated a fact that they will come on their own, right? But so that means happiness is also going to come on its own. So if I'm striving for happiness, why should the distress come to me? And by the way, what was the verse from Bhagavad Gita that she was quoting? It's from chapter 2.
Sitoshna dukha sukha dukha. Yeah.
Martha sparsha sukanteya sitoshna sukha dukha daha agam apaniyo nityas tam titikshasva bharataha. So you learn to tolerate, right? It's saying they'll come by on its own. But my question more was that as soon as we start our endeavor for happiness, why does distress begin? And I think we have an answer.
I think it's a chase. In a mind, you are chasing it. So that's what creates, unhappiness. I mean, that makes you more distressed about it.
So it's a chase and we don't like chasing, right? So that makes you distressed. Well, and sometimes people can be thrilled with a chase, isn't it? We go on the computer game, like that. So sometimes people like chase. So what is it that makes you distressed? Oh, microphone.
Yeah, when things don't go according to our expectations, we are trying to do something, try to derive happiness out of it, but things don't go our way, and then we just get distressed.
We'll get distressed, right? So maybe in the beginning, the distress, like the project is going very nice, right? For example, the Devtas and the Asuras wanted to get nectar out of the ocean. It was a very nice project. They were dialing the resources. Who's going to, what rope are you going to use? Okay, Vasuki is going to use that. What Parvat are we going to use? Okay, we're going to use Mandrachal Parvat. And who's going to be on this side? Who's going to be... Everything is nice. But the distress starts, right? That's what Prahlad Maharaj is saying. So why does the distress start? Go ahead, Ranidalal Prabhu.
Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that this world is created in that way. So, dukkhalayam ashashvatam. So, he also says that every object of enjoyment is impregnated with misery also. Ehijam sparshaya bhoga dukkayo nevayavate. So, actually, soul is spiritual. It's looking for unlimited happiness in the service of the Lord.
Correct.
But when it is trying to enjoy separately in the material world, it has to face the misery. You have to face the misery. So one point he mentioned was very strong, that this is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. And God created this playground. This is your playground, it's dukkhalayam. A lot of playgrounds here also are dukkhalayam, right? Like, for example, if you are a boxer, you might be at the glories when you are, in your prime, but old age is very bad
for those, right? They suffer with different kinds of diseases. Yes, and then the verse that you quoted, right? The last two words of the last two sentences of that verse also talk a little bit more on why you get distress. Adi antavanta konteya nateshu ramte buddha, right? So they have a beginning and there's an end. So as soon as you start getting, like let's think of, let's give me an example of what will make you happy. Just some mundane example. Ice cream will make you. Getting a job. Okay. So so you think that's going to make you happy, so you are thinking of getting a job. So what are the thoughts that can come to your mind that'll distress you? One, Mataji said was that it might not happen. Second, Prabhuji said that it will involve a chase, right? I have to study, read and all that kind of stuff, go through interviews, apply, polish the resume. And let's see what Arman has to tell us about jobs.
Maybe the waiting period can cause you distress because you might feel anxious about whether you get in the job, if you get the job or not.
Correct. And the worst thing is that after giving a fantastic interview, you don't hear back from the recruiter. Right? So you all relate to that, right? Yeah. So it says so many things. As soon as you think about the happiness, you also, because of the Adi Antamanta, there is an end to this material world, it's transient in nature, you will also start distressing about what if I'm going to lose it. Right? So that's what Prahlad Maharaj is a genius. So he says, number one, right? So here it is. We got this nice little playground, and then now you're telling me that as soon as I start my pursuit of happiness, distress is going to start in my life. So that's bad. Right? Okay, let's see some more from Prahlad Maharaj. I mean, as if that was not bad enough, right? Let's see what this is, okay? Kutra shisha shruti sukha mrga trishni rupaha kvedam kalevaram ashesha rujam virohaha nirvidyate natu jano yadapiti vidvan kamalam madhulave samyam durape. Who's going to grab the microphone fast? Ooh, okay, Arman.
In this material world, every living entity desires some future happiness, which is exactly like a mirage in the desert. Where is the water in the desert? Or, in other words, where is happiness in this material world? As for this body, what is its value? It is merely a source of various diseases. The so-called philosophers, scientists, and politicians know this very well, but nonetheless, they aspire for temporary happiness. Happiness is very difficult to obtain, but because they are unable to control their senses, they run after the so-called happiness of the material world and never come to the right conclusion.
Thank you. So first was that, you created a playground for me, and now I come to know that as soon as I start my pursuit of happiness, I will enter into a distressed position. And then now here you're telling there's nothing. It's Shruti Sukham. Shruti Sukham only means that you have just heard that there is happiness, right? The neighbors seem very happy. The boss seems very happy. The subordinates seem very happy. The only miserable person is I, like that, right? So it is Mrig Trishna, like Mrig Trishna is an optical illusion. Tell us. You wanted to say something? Go ahead. Oh, we already read the translation. Next time we'll give you a chance. Okay? Miraj?
I have a comment. So basically, we see this a lot in celebrities or millionaires. They always want all this money, thinking that they'll be happy. They want all this money to buy all these stuff. So they buy all these sports cars and all these fancy things to show that they have money and to try and find happiness. But most of them commit suicide because they can't really find happiness. Good. And they have enough money, but they can't really find happiness, and they have more time to try and find it. But that's what kills them, because
Shruti should come. It's not there.
Exactly.
Let's give a round of applause. Fantastic answer. Fantastic answer, right? So Shruti Sikam, I remember Vaisheshika Prabhu in one of his classes was mentioning that when he was a young boy, his parents used to drive and go to different states for vacationing and things like that. So once they were driving through Arizona and through the desert, And of course, when you're driving on the deserty area, you would see water, right? Where there's no water there. And so he and his brother used to say, okay, there's a lake over there. And his parents would say, like, no, it's not a lake. It's a water there. He would not believe it. He would say, no, it's water. And then after some time, like, hey, there's another lake. And the parents would say, no, this is water. Then lake, water, lake, water, lake, water. And then after 200 miles, they realize that, okay, there is no water coming up over here. So this is what is there in the material world. So we have to remember that the kind of happiness that we pursue, which is basically in the material world, that kind of a happiness is just something that you have heard about. Nobody has really seen it. Material happiness, as Arman so wisely pointed out, that sometimes it leads to your own demise, like that, right? So, go ahead.
So, also in the material world, you can't even buy all happy stuff like golden lights, Halloween stuff, or other kinds of stuff, because it's material world. You can't have that enough happiness. It's only in Goloka. You can have fun in Goloka by playing with Krishna, but you can actually have fun really in this material world, because if you're a billionaire, you can't have that much money, because you might eat over or use all those money for something else, and then you will get poor. So if you have enough money, you could use that for donating into the temple or something else, and you don't have any happiness in the material world. So only in Goloka you will have happiness, but not in the material world like this.
Class dismissed. No, nothing further needs to be said after this wonderful discourse. Very good, very good. Hats off to the ISV kids. I mean, they are certainly demigods from previous birth. Come here for our benefits, yeah. So this is what our situation is, as our little students over here have rightly mentioned, that if you have a consumer mind basically is that I want to consume, I want this, I want that, I want this, and I want that. And he was talking about people think that, I want this, I want that, and they don't get it. I was just reminded of my granddaughter. So one day, she likes sweets a lot, so she was, I made some prasadam for her and she was having it. And then I asked, she was like, oh, very nice dessert. So I said, okay, do you have dessert every day? And she was like, very, very, almost about to cry. And she's like, no, sometimes I get 2 times, sometimes I get only once. that was her misery, and that's your 4-year-old. That kind of, so everybody at every stage in life, we have got our own definitions of what makes us misery. But, desserts can also make you misery, or the lack of it, or the insufficiency of desserts. So anyway, so this is what our minds is. My mind is constantly thinking about how I can. What is your mind thinking? These are devotee minds. I won't get a good answer to substantiate what I'm trying to see. Okay, Kennedy in the back wants to say something. We have to give chance to the adults also.
Thank you, young Prabhu, for giving me a chance. We're constantly thinking about what we look like. I would look cooler in this car. I would look cooler wearing Nikes. I need to get in the shoe game. I need to, if my car has a speck of dirt on it, my neighbors are going to think I'm, less than them. And I need to have the biggest house and the best job, and my job title matters more than, in a lot of cases, spending time with the kids, and my kids need to get perfect grades. It's very surface level. It's very visual. And it's for other people, not even for ourselves.
Yes, thank you so much for that. And, okay, I'll skip that one. So we are constantly thinking about everything. And I remember when I was in India, there's something about neighbor and being envious of them, right? It's always good to have rich neighbors, and I always tell them that it's also good to have rich relatives, because then you can go and borrow money. If you are the richest, then you end up giving it to them. So it's better to be in that state. So anyway, so they had this thing about being envious of the neighbor. So there was a television that came, a new company came up with them. It's called Onida, and I remember the name Onida because I got a job in Onida. It said, "Neighbors envy, owners pride." So that's what the advertisement said. So all the time, these kind of messages are also being bombarded on us. right? So as such, Jiva soul is in a precarious situation, and then the atmosphere and the environment around us in Kali Yuga doesn't help us either with any of that, right? So here's the situation that's there in our head. And Krishna tells Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, and let me see if somebody wants to read. I am trying not to look in this section, but they beat you again. You have to be fast. Okay, go ahead. Give me the Sanskrit slowly, okay? Huh? You need to read the shloka, yes, and slowly. You don't know how to read it? Okay. So you want to try it? Okay. I think I'll have to put some rules, like one time kids and one time adults. One time kids, one time adults, but otherwise we lose. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Dhyayato vishayan pumsha sangasteshu pajayate sangan sanjayate kama kamat krodha vijayate.
So now your homework is you have to learn the Sanskrit, okay? You can do it. Hmm? But you can't read the translation now because the next turn goes to the adults. If they don't raise their hands, then you get it, okay? Okay? So, anybody wants to read the translation before the kids get it? Okay, you got it. Okay. Okay. Yeah, let's let him take it. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, is this a wild one?
Just the translation.
Okay, while completing the objects of the sense.
Not completing. Ooh.
Completing.
Yeah, that's a very important word.
The objects of the sense, a person develops attributes for the and the such attribute and less develops and form lust, anger arise.
Okay. Okay, good. So when we contemplate the objects of our senses, right? So I remember a story that there was a milkmaid. There was a milkmaid in a village, and she used to milk the cows and then carry them put the milk on a pitcher on the top of her head, and she used to go to the next town close by, and she would sell her milk there. So, and then she'd make some profit and then come back and do that the next day again. So as she was walking one day, she found that in a shop there was a very nice dress. She saw that and she wanted to buy that dress. And so she started saving for it. And of course, she was able to get that much of money, and so that she was going there to purchase the dress. And as she was going there to purchase the dress, she started thinking about the dress, contemplating. And so she was saying, okay, fine, I'm going to put that on and I'm going to look very nice. And everybody's going to say how nice you look in this dress. And then he said, okay, then you know what? One day the prince is going to see me, and the prince is going to propose marriage to me, and I'm going to say no. And as she said no, the picture from her head fell down, right? So we live in our castle, in our mind's castle, and that's what Bhagavad Gita says. Srimad Bhagavatam says, Manorathena sthit dhavato behihi. We sit in the chariot of our mind, and it takes the soul from here, from there, from everywhere, right? For example, what's going on in Sweden these days? Your mind goes to Sweden that fast, right? Free of cost, no visa, no passport. Doesn't require any of that, right? So contemplating. So let's go and look a little bit into the word contemplate. Say contemplate again. Contemplate, right? And the word contemplate, and this one I will read, is from the 1590s. It means to reflect upon, to ponder, to study, view mentally, like a little milkmaid was viewing mentally everything, right? To meditate. Meditate is focusing only on that thought. From Latin, contemplatus, which is the past parcel of contemplare, to gaze attentively, observe, to consider, contemplate, which originally it meant to mark out a space for observation as an augur does, right? And from assimilated from of calm, and perhaps as an intensive prefix, all that. So we're going to leave that. And then from 1600 onwards, this word contemplate also started to represent have in view as a future act. So it's not. So that's why contemplating on material objects is a dangerous thing. because you will ultimately act on it as a future act. Okay? So, here they use the word augur, right? Sometimes they say it doesn't augur well. What I'm thinking doesn't augur well. The path you're taking doesn't augur well. This decision is not going to augur well with the company's policies or company's goals and things like that, right? So interesting, from where does the word augur come in? So augur is from the ancient Rome and religious official. So augur was a religious official, and his job was to observe the signs in the material nature, and particularly the behavior of the birds. And depending on the behavior of the birds, that would be an indication from the divine that what you are planning to do is right or wrong, right? Do we have parallels to that in our philosophy? Do we hear anything like that? Bhagavatam tells you about signs. Anybody saw signs in Bhagavatam? Nobody saw no signs in Bhagavatam? You saw some signs? Tell me. Okay, well, that's thinking out of the box. Very good. Go ahead, give the answer.
So I was thinking about the 24 gurus, where by seeing different things and people.
I'll have to sit straight. Okay. Yeah, so there were 24 gurus from the nature. And so what were some of the gurus? Does anybody remember? Water was a guru. River was a guru.
Earth.
Earth was a guru. Kurari bird was a guru. Right? Kurari hawk. Vaishakabu likes that a lot. Yeah. So what does the river say? What does the river say? Whenever there's an obstacle, it just flows around and on either sides and doesn't stop on its path. So that's what he learned, right? So, but I was basically talking about in the context of an augur, where the augur is trying to look at signs and he's looking for whether they are approval or disapproval of the divine. This is very, very important for us to know. And so this is a sign we should always be looking in our lives also when we go about doing anything, is to, does it, go well with Krishna or not? Does it follow his rules or not? Like that. So, I was looking for when Krishna departs, right? First canto. And Arjun starts seeing, Yudhishthira starts seeing all different kinds of signs and omens, right? So we talk a lot about omens. So he sees bad omens, right? Like jackal spitting fire, and there is thunder without any clouds and these kind of things. So that was one situation where we saw omens. Another situation? You need buzzers. We need buzzers in these classrooms, and a reader here to say who, 1 by 1/4 of a second.
Maybe when Devaki, or when Kamsa was Devaki and Nanda Maharaj, their wedding, Devaki's wedding.
Devaki and
Vasudev's wedding, they were, what's it called? Kamsa heard this sound from the sky, this voice from the sky telling him that the seventh child of Devaki would kill him one day, the eighth.
Okay, yeah, that is correct. Historically, that is correct. However, you will not put that as an omen. That was nothing to be interpreted there. It was statement there, eighth son is going to kill you, like that. I saw some hands raised over there in the back. I'll have to give it there. Go ahead. And we'll come back to you here.
In the Ramayana, whenever the Rakshasas are about to head out to battle, there would be buzzards landing on their flag, or a wheel would break, or they would hear women weeping, or there would just be silence. And whenever anyone on Lord Ram's side of the battle would head in, there was like sunlight despite there being a battlefield, and there would just be something beautiful. A deer would cross their path in the right direction. Someone's left eye would twitch.
Correct. These are all omens. Do you have more omens to add, Sudevi Mataji, to that? Run. Let's see. Oh, that was slow. Less than 3 seconds, microphone has to reach.
So when Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha were to be born, they were signs of different signs of women.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were some bad omens as well, right? So contemplate, right? So we were talking about contemplate. So contemplate is you think about something and it could result in a future action in the future. Okay, so contemplate is that. So let's go further. Okay, I need to use this and not that. Okay, I forgot I was moving my thing right here. So this is contemplate, right? So how do you get the knowledge about what objects to contemplate? How are you getting this knowledge that I should contemplate on this?
As we see things repeatedly, so we mentally picture a frame of having that.
You see things and they have an impression in your mind, right? And then you see them inwardly in your mind. Okay? Go ahead. So that's one way.
So, this is kind of adding on to Prabhuji. Basically, we have a desire for something, we have a desire for some material thing, and if we really want it, we can't get it out of our heads, and we're like, oh, I want this so badly. And you get the knowledge about it. Why? You get the knowledge when you first see it, and you say, oh, I want this. Your mind says, I want this one, I want this thing, I want this other thing. It's because of your desires and your senses and your mind wanting to get these material stuff.
Okay. Anybody else wants to add? Do you want to add?
So even when like childs, they also like to get lots of toys whenever they go to the store, and they like to get other like toys, pets, or other kinds of stuff. But if they got a toy already or a pet, they might forget it, and they could and they will forget about it. And that's all material stuff. You don't need all the toys or pets or any kind of other stuff.
Yeah, that's correct. But the question was a slightly different one, and let's see if Kennedy can answer that. Has something to add to it.
Well, we can get knowledge about the objects we contemplate from our environment. So if you're around people who don't desire a lot, you become a lot more peaceful. But if you are around people who every weekend they go out partying, you're going to crave that kind of environment. And suddenly you're a product, as the saying goes, a product of your environment.
You are a product of your environment, right? And so just to emphasize a little bit on my question, so there are things that are out there, and how do you acquire, how do you get the knowledge? And I think I heard it partly in the various answers here, and I was aiming at the answer that you get it through your senses, right? There are knowledge acquiring senses. And to your point, that you have desires, right? You said you have got desires, and just as you desire, your senses will be geared. They are tailored to fit you to a T. Everybody has got the different types of sense organs, and they will give you what you're looking for. And so the job of the sense organs, is to gather the knowledge for you. But I'll go there after we get the feedback from Rupali Mataji. Yeah, go ahead.
So according to my understanding about the question, is it like what is the right thing to contemplate on?
No. I was asking that, from like if I'm contemplating on something, car, right? How do I get that information?
Oh,
From the like she said, things are there in the environment. How do I get them? So they are knowledge acquiring senses. So one of the things to keep in mind is that these senses are looking for sense objects, right? For example, the sense of sight or sense of seeing. What is the object of that? What is the object of, what is it going to get their knowledge about? Form, correct, right? It's going to get you knowledgeable form. With my eyes, I cannot tell you how the water is going to smell, because the object of the eyes is not smell. The object of the eyes is form. I can tell you the form of the glass, I can tell you color of the glass, etc. I can't tell you how it smells, right? Similarly, the nose can smell. So from the nose you cannot see, okay? Now who is it who has got senses that can do the part? One sense can do the part of other sense, and I'm looking for Shastric evidence. Say that again? Yeah. No points for not speaking on the microphone.
It is Lord Krishna.
It's Lord Krishna, yeah.
So who can do
One.
activities of one sense can be done by another sense.
Yes, and
So
what's the words?
It's Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vritti.
Angani yasya sakalendriya pritivanti. Go ahead.
Pashyanti
Panti kalayanti chiram jaganti Ananda chinmaya tataru tadadurata Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So one thing that we have to keep in our mind is that these senses are forever seeking the objects, right? For example, Sudevi Mataji, she's in the flower decoration team, right? So once she enters into the temple, what do you think is the first thing she's going to see? The flowers, right? She's going to say, oh, my mom was making or son might say, my mom was making a garland, is Radharani wearing it today or not, right? So because the senses are looking, and why? Because deep inside there is a desire to look out and enjoy certain things. So they're constantly looking for these things, in as much as, I remember when you go to an area where there is no signal, your battery dies very quickly. Why does your battery die? Because your phone is constantly looking, where is the signal? Where is the signal? Where is the signal? So similarly here also you'll say, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Right? So somebody else over here who's responsible for the cleaning of it might say, are the mats laid out nicely or not? Right? And people come to temple for different reasons and they might see different things. But one thing to keep in mind is that the senses are constantly reaching out all the time. Okay? So, So we were looking at these words, and so I also wanted to mention over here is that how much these senses are. We talked about the knowledge acquiring senses, right? But remember, contemplation also leads to future what? Future action, right? So if you have got knowledge acquiring senses, somebody should also help you act. So what do you think helps you act? The working senses, right? And it's a fantastic team. They work very well together, right? You want me to give you an example of how they work? Or you all already know? You want me to give you an example? Okay, so here you are. You're sitting in a room in your home, and your Mataji left? Okay. And so she's in the kitchen, and you're sitting in your living room, and you smell some nice halwa. So your nose has told you that, right? And then your legs will cooperate with you. They will take you to the kitchen before you even know that happened, right? And you'll put the Bhagavad Gita aside, not you, and then you will go there. And then the tongue will vibrate and ask, how much time it's going to take for the halwa to be done, and how long are you going to take to offer it to the Lord, like that, right? Its tongue will cooperate. The hand will cooperate. You'll smell it. First you heard something, utensils in the kitchen, and maybe it started from there. So they work in a very, very good cooperative spirit, but it's not to our advantage if we are engaged in doing enjoyment only for ourselves, right? It's a team to be afraid of, actually.
I actually had.
You going to give an example?
No, it was kind of like a comment. I had two
Okay,
comments.
go ahead.
So the first one was that when you put your senses together, basically on the bottom are the five senses, then the middle is the mind, then the top is the intelligence, and then the actual top, the upper is the soul. And basically, your soul needs to take control of the intelligence, and your intelligence needs to take care of the mind, who is the controller of the senses. So if your intelligence and your soul takes control of your mind can either be your best friend or your worst enemy. And when they take control, when the soul takes control of the mind, it makes you your best friend. The mind becomes your best friend, and you can do so many things when you have your mind under control and your senses under control. There's actually a saying, if you put your mind to it, you can do it. And this is exactly how it works.
Correct, very good. So, but my question is that although the soul is so powerful and is on the top, right? Why does it not listen to the intelligence? Why does it not listen to the intelligence? What happens?
Maybe it doesn't want it to become, what was it again? What was it? Maybe because it wanted to do something else, like doing in something else. It was like doing the other bad habits. It's then following its enemy.
Yeah, so first thing, you can't start an answer with a maybe. You have to give me a yes or a no answer. But you were right. One of the reasons is there's a very strong desire. Remember why we are here? The desire is there. The desire is there to enjoy. And this body has been given to us as a facility to enjoy. But what is it that connects the soul to the body? What is it that connects the soul to the body? Go ahead. Is the silver thread, golden thread? What is it that connects the soul to the body?
Yeah. So I would like to believe that soul needs to be nourished. It needs to be fed on the good food and that would be Krishna consciousness in this context. And once that is there, it has the power then to guide the intelligence into the right direction. Because if the soul is weak, then the intelligence is flooded with many other things. The intelligence just can't listen to the soul because we are not giving that opportunity to listen to it. But once the soul becomes powerful, we go deep into that psyche, then it does have the ability to change our mindset.
Correct. So yours is the happy ending. Happy ending to the story. The soul has become purified, everything is right. But at the moment when we are entrapped in the body, the question that we have to look at is, we have been given this body because of the desires, right? The bad food, the bad nourishment, as you were saying, right? The good nourishment definitely will take you there. So yes, definitely, right? But the bad nourishment, we are getting this bad nourishment. And why are we, so we have to remember one thing. We desire to enjoy separately from Krishna. This material world has been provided to us to enjoy or try to enjoy. We have been given this body. And my question was, what is it that connects the soul to the body? What connects the soul to the body? The false ego. Were you going to say that? There you go, right? If you don't have the false ego, you know what? You won't be able to enjoy this material world. Think of that. It's what does the false ego do? What does the false ego do? It makes you think that you are the body. Unless and until you don't think that you are the body, how can you enjoy? You can put a gulab jamun on the top of this table. I don't think I'm this table. I don't enjoy it. But the moment you put a gulab jamun on my tongue, I start enjoying it. Why? Because I think I'm the body, but I'm not. That is why it's a false ego, right? And so this body has been created for you to try to enjoy. But then, because we know, Shruti Sukham, there is no enjoyment in this material world, no matter how hard you try, what you try, different things you can try, right? You're not going to get this happiness. So Krishna, in all his mercifulness, he has also given us a way out of it. He's also said, okay, good nourishment also is what I'm going to give you, not just you created your own bad nourishment, right? I'm going to give you some good stuff, right? Like how when kids go off to college and they say, okay, mom, I'm going to cook my own food, and then they come back like 6 months later, 15 pounds heavier, and you ask, what have you been eating? Like Maggie every day, noodles every day, and then the mom says, okay, I'm going to pack some good food for you. So the good nourishment, and Krishna is our mom, of course, right? So we were talking about, we are contemplating, the soul contemplates. Why does it contemplate? Because it has desire. Different souls are in different levels of evolution. They have different kinds of desires, and to cater to the desires, you are given a very suitable body to try to enjoy or suffer your desires, like that, right? So you will be given a certain type of eyes, a certain type of nose. Like my husband cannot smell anything, mostly, right? I can smell things very fast. So, between the two of us, who's more miserable, do you think? Right? The house can be burning, he won't smell it. And something is stinking in one corner of the house, I'm miserable, like that, So you are given these senses, so we have to remember that these senses have been given to us to enjoy, but then there's a way out also. You could use your senses, as our philosopher here said, use them to go back to Godhead, right? So anyway, when you're contemplating on the sense objects, what happens is that the person develops attachment for them. Like we were saying, if you watch your neighbor's Porsche for a long time, then you will develop an attachment to it, right? That's why sometimes you will notice brahmacharis, they close their eyes like that. They don't want to see it, which is a good thing. I used to laugh at that, but then, as I read the scriptures, I think it's a good thing to do. Just don't get connected with that. Although it's not the very, it's not the best way to do it. It's not the best way to avoid all those kinds of temptations, because Bhagavad Gita also says that if you forcefully, do these kind of things, that the desire still remains inside, right? But it's good to at least cut off that transmission there. So a person develops attachment from them, and then from that attachment, lust develops, and then from the lust, anger arises, right? And I think somebody already told us about that whole thing, right? All right, so question here is, when does anger arise? One answer, okay? Not all the answers. Go ahead, quickly.
Frustration.
Okay, good. Anger arises from frustration. Frustration is the earlier part of anger. It can result and get converted into anger. When does, you guys have never been angry? You have been angry? Okay, tell me. When does anger arise?
When things don't go the way we desire.
When things don't go the way we desire, we get anger. Okay, you got your chance. Okay, go ahead, Bhagavati Devi. Atiji, the microphone is coming your way. You have to repeat that on the microphone because nobody heard it on the internet.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
When lust arises and it is not fulfilled, then anger arises.
Okay, so when lust is not fulfilled, then anger arises. So that is one situation. Where else can anger arise? Do you have to wait for the lust to be unfulfilled for anger to arise? Or can it happen sooner? Can it happen sooner? Okay, Kennedy, at the back.
If someone offends our friends or even ourselves.
Okay, when somebody offends you, then also you can get angry, right? But on the path of trying to fulfill your desire, do you get angry only when the desire is not fulfilled? Or can you get angry sooner than that? Never got angry sooner than that? We're patient people. Okay, Herman. Before, yeah. When does anger arise?
When someone says something, or when
Offends you?
when someone offends you, and when you feel like something is not going your way and you want something else to happen, that's when anger arises.
Correct. I was looking for when something is not going your way, right? It's not that you haven't got what you wanted, right? It's just there are obstacles in the way and you can get angry at that. Or, why did the government do this? Or why did the boss do that? It's not that you won't get the results, you'll get the results. But on the way to getting the results also, the anger can arise here, right? So contemplate the objects, you get attached to them, you want to possess them, that's a weakness of the heart. And then when you don't get them or on the process of trying to get them, you get angry, right? And then what happens when you get angry, okay? So I'm looking for somebody from the back to read the Sanskrit because this is houseful now. Your quota is over. Okay, Sukha Mataji. Oh, not Sukha, sorry. Go ahead. Oh, you have to give me the Sanskrit. We want to chant it together. Somebody wants to do the Sanskrit and then you can do the English afterwards, Mataji. Thank you, Prabhu.
Krodhat bhavati samoha samohat smriti vibramaha smriti brahmasad buddhi naso buddhi nasat pranasyati.
Okay, Sanskrit now. Oh, English now.
From anger, complete delusion arises, and from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, and when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool.
Thank you. Thank you. So, this is the path to destruction. Right? So you get angry, and then from anger, you're completely deluded, your memory is lost. You don't even know where the rules are, Like the augur looks for the good omens, you don't even know what is good, what is bad. Your memory is completely gone. And when there is no memory to support, what happens to the intelligence? The intelligence is lost, right? So do you have any example? No running in the class, sorry. Do you have any example of this that you want to share on Facebook, YouTube? Like that? Oh, I've got takers, okay. Okay, I'll take the question after that, yeah. Well, somebody is going to tell us.
So the last part of the sentence talks about when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. So is it talking about somebody is in the spiritual world and falling down to the material pool, or is it talking about...
Further.
Huh?
Falling down further into the material pool.
Okay.
Yeah, because you are contemplating on the material objects, you're already in the material world, right? So you're back again. Whatever you did, yeah. And anger actually eats up into your devotional service credits, yeah. She has a microphone, go ahead.
I was going to give an example from the Ramayana. I just finished reading it, so most of my examples will be that probably. But when Ravan he's already kidnapped Sita, she hasn't said yes to anything he's planned. He's all frustrated, and then Lord Ram shows up at his gates ready to fight him. And even though everyone has advised him of his failure, he is so angry that he forgets his position. He throws his family out onto the battlefield and they lose their lives one after the other. And yet he's still, when it's just him and one advisor left, he's like, well, now I'm going to go out and I'm going to win it. Even though everyone's telling him, Lord Ram is the supreme personality of Godhead. You can't win this. And it's that bewilderment of memory to his own Vedic knowledge, which he has in abundance, but then he loses his intelligence to his own lust and desire for Sita.
There you go, exactly. And at some point in time, like, he wanted Sita, he was so angry, he wanted to kill her also. And we see that all the time in the material world, People commit murders just based on that, right? You loved your wife so much, but she went off, looked at somebody and you kill her. Like that, right? So I'm going to give you an example, which is just so crazy. When I read about this, I was like, oh my goodness, how can the memory go so wrong? How can the intelligence go so wrong, right? So you heard of Mike Tyson? Who was Mike Tyson? These are good kids, they won't know. He was a boxer, right? So somebody wants to read this news bulletin? June 28, 1997, what happened in the life of Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield? Whoever has a mic, go for it, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. On June 28, 1997, one of the more bizarre moments in boxing history took place when Mike Tyson bit off a a portion of Evander Holyfield's ear in the third round of their much anticipated rematch. Tyson was disqualified from the bout and lost his boxing license. Thank you.
Thank you. What do you say? Yeah, we laugh at it, but then we look at the consequences of this action. What did Mike Tyson want? He wanted to win. And what was the result? He lost his boxing license, right? So it can go to the other extreme. Of course, later on it was reinstated. He got the license back, but this is what anger does to you. Can you imagine that you go down to a level of a dog, that you bite off people's ears? Dogs do that, right? Dogs and cats. So this is what anger does for us, right? So what do? We know this is the path. If you contemplate on objects, then you get attached to them, you want them, you don't get them, you get krodha. So they say kama is the elder brother, desire, and krodha is the younger brother. Okay, younger brother comes after the elder brother has been born, right? So kama and krodha. Go ahead, Lex Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Like I remember in this situation with Mike Tyson, it was one tricky moment because every boxer wants to win. They really want to win. They come through a lot of pain. They doing lots of work. But in this situation, it was it's so many intoxications before in life of Mike Tyson. It's why this happened.
Correct, yeah.
Thank you.
Correct, and that's what he talked about celebrities. You get a beautiful wife and then you fight. Yes, thank you for sharing that thought, right? So we said, that's the path through which you go and fall down again into the material pool. So now Krishna is saying further, Raga dvesha vimuktestu vishayan indriyascharan atma vaishir vidheyatma prasadam adhigachati. Sorry for using the word prasadam so ahead of prasadam time, but it came in the scriptures. So, but a person free from all attachment and aversion and able to control his senses through regulative principles of freedom can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord. Okay? So we're saying we'll get the mercy of the Lord and somehow we'll be prevented from falling down into this material pool. But it has certain things over there. It's talking about regulative principles. So what are the regulative principles once again? Let us speak. Give her a chance. Yeah, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji. No meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication.
Right, good. For that, and then on top of that, you have to do also something, right? Those are the don'ts. What are the do's?
Chanting Hare Krishna 16 rounds.
Chanting Hare Krishna 16 rounds and?
Reading
Srila Prabhupada's books, right? So these are the don'ts. So these are the regulations, and because of that, you are not free to do whatever you want to do. Right? I want to eat meat. I want to be free to eat anything what I want. I want to be free to eat anywhere I want to eat. I want to, have a relationship with anybody that I want to have a relationship with. I don't want to chant. I want to sleep in the morning, and I don't want to read Srila Prabhupada's books. I want to read novels, right? Where is the freedom? It's saying regulative principles of freedom. Where is the freedom here? Right? Go ahead, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji. I think I can give one example from a Stanford study on psychology.
Oh, good.
So this was on little kids. The professor did on his daughter and the kids. They would take a kid to a room and then give lollipops, like 2 lollipops. If you can wait for 5 minutes in that room alone while watching those 2, you get 2. If you do not have the patience to wait that long, you get 1. And they follow these kids, like some of the kids do not have the patience, they get 1 and go. And then some did wait, and then they get 2. Then the professor, they basically followed these kids after 10, 15 years when they are like almost grown up. And then found out that those kids who did have the patience, they are doing relatively better in their academic and their career compared to those who did not have the patience. So this is about the control of senses when freedom is there. Like if I don't have the option and then I abstain, there is no real abstain. Versus you have the option and you don't use it, you apply the abstinence, that is where you have the freedom of control, or you have the control freedom.
Yes, you have the freedom of the control. And then later on, as you practice in the case of the kids that you mentioned there, so later on in life, so one thing we have to remember is that, who was it who said that we are a product of the environment? I think Kennedy said that. And the environment is completely polluted, right? Right? So, so don't think that the stimulus from the external environment is going to go away. It's always going to be there. That's how this material world is. The lollipops will always be there, right? But if you practice this, then you get freedom from the attraction towards lollipops, right? So these 4 regulative principles, like for example, why do we fast? We're controlling the sense to be hunger, to controlling our sense of, eating whenever we're hungry. So that tomorrow, if anything happens, if you're habitual of keeping fast, it's easy for you, right? I mean, sometimes the doctors tell the patient that, you can't eat anything. I remember I was going for a fasting blood sugar, and the nurse was almost apologetic when she was telling me that you can't take anything after tonight, and can I schedule an earlier one for you? And I was like, I can't do that. I have meetings. I can only come at 4 o'clock. She was like, oh, I'm so sorry. You'll have to stay hungry for such a long time. And I was just thinking, big deal, So you are free from, the onslaught of these vagaries of the material world. That's why we call them that these are really principles of freedom. They're going to give you freedom from the clutches. Otherwise, kamadhinam kathina kathita palita durnidesha. So we follow the bad advice of our senses all the time. And how all the time means 24/7. All the time. They do not give you any respite from anything like that, right? So this will take you to freedom from the clutches of them, right? Okay, this one is a favorite one. I'm so sorry, but prasadam comes again. Prasade sarva dukkhanam hanirasya upajayate prasanna chetaso hyasu buddhi paryavatishtate. For one thus satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence is soon well established. Okay? So Krishna consciousness is, Krishna is telling you slowly. Okay? And now something very important here, that we said we want to be happy in this material world and all that. What is Krishna telling you? Nasti buddhira yuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana nacha bhava yatha shante ashantasya kuta sukham. One who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? This is very, very important, right? For example, you have an exam tomorrow and you have 16 chapters to study or to revise before the exam, and your roommate comes and says, hey, there's a party going on, let's go to the party. And so you go to the party thinking you're going to have happiness there. Are you going to have happiness there? No. Why? Because there's no peace of mind. The mind is telling you 15 chapters, 15 chapters, 15 chapters. So it's very important first to reach a stage of peacefulness, right? So how do I get to a peaceful situation? Are you all peaceful? No? That's sad, isn't it? Me too. Okay, so think about this. I want you to read this quietly and ponder on it. Contemplate on this sentence. Agree or agree? Right? And so Krishna consciousness helps you in formulating your response. Because between stimulus that comes from the material world, which is gathered by the knowledge acquiring senses, and the response that is given with the help of the mind, the intelligence, the soul, and the working senses, there is a freedom to choose what you're going to do, right? And there is a gap. And the more you enlarge that gap, the better that response will be, is going to be, okay? So, you want to have peace? Just take Shastra to be your eyes, okay? Take their guidance on what you should go, where you should go, things like that. Okay, so let's see what the Shastras tell us about this enjoyment, right? Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. So, what does it mean? By the way, what is this? This verse is part of a certain section of Bhagavad Gita. Chatra Shloki Bhagavad Gita, 500 points to Sudevi Mataji. So where Krishna says that I am the source of all spiritual and the material worlds. He's created this material world also. Everything emanates from me. And the Buddha, the wise, know this perfectly. So what do? They worship you, right? So that's one thing. He's the source of all the spiritual and material worlds. It's a very important thing to remember in our pursuit towards peace and in our pursuit towards happiness. If he is the source of everything, who does everything belong to? Krishna? Okay. Good. And then the Ishopanishads say, in the very first verse, it's laid out very clearly what belongs to you, what doesn't belong to you, what you should do, right? Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjita ma krida kaschat siddhanam. And what does it say? That everything inanimate, animate or inanimate. Give me an example of an animate object, kids. Animate object? Anybody wants to tell me an animate object? Human beings, correct. And what is an inanimate object? What? A microphone is inanimate, okay, without the power. Okay, yeah, so everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. It's owned by Him and it's also controlled by Him, right? One should therefore accept only those things that are set aside as our quota. So how much do you think is the quota? How many chapatis is our quota? Be careful what you answer because there's prasadam at 6 o'clock. I'll be standing in the line to check your quota, right? So take only as much is there for your quota, and this is one of the things that goes against the devotional principles. That atyahara, prayasacha, atyahara, if you hoard things, if you take more than what is your quota, then you're in for some serious trouble, right, devotionally. So use only that is set aside for the quota, and do not accept other things also, right? Certain things belongs to other people, and not only other people, other living beings. For example, the animals, right? They have a share of this srishti or this universe or this city where you stay. So we try to hoard and capture everything there. Okay. So this Tesla that you were thinking of buying this weekend, who does it belong to? Krishna, right? As long as you have that thought in your mind that everything that I own belongs to Krishna, you will have a very different kind of a peace in your heart. As long as you think it belongs to you, you are in serious trouble. And then another verse which is from the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which says, Bhoktaram yagya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhidam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati. So a person in full consciousness of me, the last verse of 5th chapter, which is Karma Yoga, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices. So who is the beneficiary? Right. So we hoard a lot of money and then we write a will, my son or my daughter is going to inherit the $25 million that I worked so hard the rest of my life, like that, They become the beneficiary. So similarly, all the hard work that we do, which includes the chanting that you do, the fasting that you do, all that hard work, the beneficiary is Krishna. It's a big paradigm shift. We are all thinking that we do all these activities for ourselves, right? For our purification. That is fine. That will happen as a concomitant factor. But the first thing we need to have in our mind is that we are doing it because it pleases Krishna. We have been His naughty children. And now we are going back on the right path. That's going to please him. That's going to make Prabhupada happy. That's going to make Krishna happy. That's going to make the parampara happy, like that, right? Very, very important that he is the ultimate beneficiary of all the sacrifices and austerities, right? He is also the Supreme Lord of all the planets. So if you just finish paying the mortgage on your house, don't feel super happy. It belongs to Krishna, right? He owns the whole planets there as well. And he's also the benefactor and well-wisher. So there's a word there, Suhridam, right? Suhridam means benefactor, well-wisher, or your friend, right? So Krishna is also your friend. So I want people to take turns reading this very interesting story. It comes from Book Distribution Sankirtan. And let's see. Who grabs the mic and who already has the mic? Okay. So there are many, many slide decks to that. So go ahead. The first one.
Once with Mataji
Kirti Rani.
Kirti Rani, one of my students, we performed some festival in Ashtana. We did not have time to have dinner and rushed to the plane because we were going to be late for the flight. Local devotees handed a big bag with prasadam. I said, Krishna, the flight from Ashtana to Alma-Ata is just an hour and a half. We don't need anything, especially at night. Am I reading the whole thing?
Okay. Keep on.
But Kirtirani said, I'm hungry. Devotees insisted, take it all, please. Treat someone in Alma-Ata.
Okay. Who wants to go next? With microphone?
Yeah.
Quickly, quickly, quickly. All right, here it comes.
Having gotten into the plane, it turned out that we are in different rows. But next to me, there was a spare seat. So I waved to Kirtarani to come and take it. Come on in, sit next to me. Next to me, there was a guy who looked pretty unfriendly. His clothes were all dark colors. He was obviously in a bad mood. Okay, we've settled, Kirtirani says. Krishna, I'm so hungry. Malikamala, can I start to eat? Sure. As soon as the plane took off, she started to wrestle with plastic bags full of prasadam. Oh, they got is this. Wait.
They got is this. Yeah, there's a typo there. Go ahead.
Oh, and they got.
Got us, yeah.
And they got us this.
So they got us this.
She looked so happy. Malikamala, are you sure you are not going to eat? I'm not hungry. Have you offered some to our neighbor? He interrupted. Don't do this. Oh, okay.
Okay, who's next? Okay, go ahead, Mataji.
The stewardess drives up and delivers food. And in a whisper, he said, I'm a vegetarian. Kirtirani turned to me and said, Malika Mala, he ordered vegetarian meal. Wow, so you treat him. Excuse me, please excuse me. I accidentally found out that you ordered a vegetarian and we have just the same vegetarian. I said no, shouted the man. Okay. He looked really annoyed.
Who's next?
She started taking prasadam, commenting, Oh, how delicious. She offered him again. What about some sweets? I said no, shouted the man. But she didn't stop. Oh, look, here's another thing we have. Well, why should you eat airplane food? We have a homemade food here. Finally, he said, Oh my God, why is it happening to me? Why is it happening to me again and again? He went on. I know you. You are Malika Mala. We were shocked. He called me by my name. He continued. As soon as I spotted you on the plane, right that moment I knew you would be sitting next to me.
You want to read?
My eyes got big. What's the matter? What's going on? He continued. And of course, you called her to sit here too. And yes, you started offering me prasadam. I know what you want. You want to always remember Krishna. But I want to forget him. Do you understand? I want to forget him. We were sitting there shocked and speechless. Then it turned out that he was a devotee, and he quarreled with some devotees. It often happens. There were insults. He even used to be a pujari in London temple. But then, due to quarrels, he left the devotees and ended up alone. However, he remained a vegetarian.
Who's next? Okay, go ahead, Prabhu.
Then he said, "You understand? It is impossible to get away from Krishna. I do not want to be friend with him, but he does not stop being friends with me. Whenever I go, he would certainly send me prasadam. He would surely send me devotees. He would definitely leave Bhagavad Gita to me or something else. He is so friendly. You just can't imagine." Kirtirani and I both started to cry. There were tears in his eyes too. Can you even imagine what kind of friend he is? It is impossible to get away from him. Impossible. And you know why it is happening now? I'm coming from the funeral. My father died. This is Kazakh funeral. There is only meat, only meat. All these days I only ate tomatoes and cucumber. I am so hungry. I know why he sent this prasadam.
Who's next? Who wants to read? Go ahead, Mataji.
Okay. I thought, Lord, so he worries about him so much that he made devotees provide us with a big amount of prasadam for this short flight. It was meant for him. Crying, I told him, "You strengthen our faith right away, right here. Please help yourself." He started taking prasadam and then he asked, "Can I take some with me too? I miss prasadam so much." Of course, of course. Such was the story about friendship with Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So how many of you had tears in your eyes? Such is Krishna, right? And sorry once again for bringing in a prasadam story. I didn't realize. Okay, so Krishna has been a friend. We saw that. Krishna has been friends in so many occasions in the Shastras. Which occasion is this? This one? This one? It's a fire. Okay, this one? Akshay Patra, correct. Durvasa Muni. So then we are surrounded with material friends. How far does a material friend go with you? Maybe till the funeral. And then no friend follows, right? But Krishna is there with us in our hearts, guiding us, and He's waiting for us as we try to enjoy the fruits of the material nature here and there and enjoy, and consequently we suffer the fruits. Krishna is there waiting for us to turn our face towards Krishna, right? And when you turn your face towards Krishna and take one step towards Him, He's your best friend. And that's what He's trying to tell you, that, I own everything, I control everything, but I'm also your good friend. So just if you be friends with me, you get to have all these goodies with you, right? So if we have that concept in our mind, that whatever I'm doing it for Krishna. Whatever I have got in my life actually belongs to Krishna. And then gratitude is going to come into our hearts. And when you have gratitude in your heart, a grateful heart is a peaceful heart, right? And when you are peaceful, only then can happiness come in. Because Krishna said that, right? Without peace, how can you even think that you are Krishna? So what I aim here should be practice devotional service. This is just the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna has not openly said that, become my devotee. Man mana mad bhakto mad yaji mam namaskuru. He's not said that yet, but he's going to say that and emphasize more in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. But for us here, we have to remember that in order to get out of this situation, contemplating on things, trying to enjoying them for ourselves, suffering and then saying, why is Krishna doing this to me? Krishna doesn't do things like that, without any reason. Somebody might say that, okay, I thought, Krishna, you were my friend. Prabhupada could have said, Krishna, I took sannyas. I gave up everything. I came into a shelter. You were supposed to protect me. And, soon after I took sannyas, what happened? A bull came and gored him, right? So, and the Prabhupada explains in his lectures, he says that, these kind of things will come. but ultimately they lead to something better in our lives, right? So when Krishna does things, when things happen to us in our lives, we don't have to start thinking logically about it. Logically means you do good, good is going to happen. You do bad, bad is going to happen. But sometimes, even for good people, Krishna is going to make twists and turns in their lives, which are completely mind-boggling as to why is this happening to me? Then if we have this faith that Krishna is my friend, my best friend, as you saw how Krishna was following that man who says, I'm trying to forget him, and like, but I don't forget you. That's a real and a true friend that we have. So we are so blessed here that we have, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we found his book, or somehow or the other we came here, spent a wonderful Sunday feast here discussing Krishna, discussing Krishna's material world, and also discussing how do we get out of this material world and get ultimate peace and ultimate happiness. So thank you so much. We are on the top of the hour now, and we'll have Aarti then, and let me see. All right. So Gora Aarti today will be sung by Vishwapati. It's my lucky day, Vishwapati Prabhu. I saw him there. He's hiding somewhere. Like, all right, good, my lucky day. And Narsingham prayers will be done by Shravan Prabhu. I can't see. Okay, perfect. Good, good. All right. So thank you so much for your kind participation, and thank you so much the kids, especially for making it so very lively. We'll meet again. Vanchikalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha gopremanande hari hari bo.
जय जय श्री राधा मदन मोहन की, लक्ष्मी नृसिंहदेव भगवान की, गौरांग महाप्रभु की, गौड़ प्रेमानंदे। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नीति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare। Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe. Jai Radha Madhav Radha Madhav Radhe. Jai Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Radhe. Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Sri Radhe. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. जय राधा मदन मोहन की, जय गौरांग महाप्रभु की, जय लक्ष्मी नृसिंहदेव भगवान की, गौर प्रेमानंदे। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री अभय चरण अरविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर की। नामाचार्य शिल हरिदास ठाकुर की। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री वासादि श्री गौर भक्तवृंद की। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की, वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की, मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की, जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की, गंगा माई जमुना माई की, तुलसी महारानी की, समवेत भक्त वृंद की, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories, Sisi Guru Gauranga, Hare Krishna.
Please have a seat. We'll have Narasimha Aarti now. Today's Narasimha Aarti would like to dedicate to Pawan Agarwal Prabhu's father who left his body 3 years back. So in his memory, we are dedicating today's Narasimha prayers. Hare Krishna.
Namaste Narashinhaya Namaste Narashinhaya Prahlada Tankana khalaye Ito Nrsinga Parato Nrsinga Ito Nrsinga Parato Nrsinga Yato yato yamita to Nrsinga Yato yato yamita to Nrsinga Dahi Nrsinga Hridaye Nrsinga Bahir Nrsinga Hridaye Nrsinga Narasimha Madin Sarana Prapade Narasimha Madin Sarana Prapade Kara Kamala Bare Natham Aduta Shingam Dalita Hiranya Kashipu Tanu Bhingam Ekabadrita Nara Hari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare कमलवरे नाथाम् अच्युतशृङ्गां दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गां केशवदिता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे केशवदीता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जया नरसिंहदे 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 जया नरसिंहदे जया भक्त प्रहलाद भक्त प्रहलाद भक्त प्रहलाद जया भक्त प्रहलाद निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल श्री विघ्न विनाशन सुनो भगवान की जय भक्त श्री प्रहलाद महाराज की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंद हरि हरि बोल श्री प्रभुपाद की जय
Can someone turn on the lights, please, at the back? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. We welcome you all to the Sunday Feast Festival here at ISKCON of Silicon Valley. So let's give a big round of applause to everyone who has joined us tonight. Hare Hare Bol. And also let's thank everyone who has joined us online. So let's give them a big round of applause too. Today's Krishna Katha and talk was brought to us by Her Grace, Shraddha Mataji. So let's give her a big round of applause. Hare 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 Bol. And the Aarti was brought to us by His Grace Vishwapati Prabhu. Hari Bol. And the beautiful Narsimha Aarti was sung by Bhakta Shravan. So let's give him a round of applause. Hari Hari Bol. Also, we would like to thank His Grace Ramananda Saka Prabhu for bringing us the broadcast program. Hari Bol. So anyone coming here for the first time? Thank you. There we have, okay. Thank you for joining us tonight. If you have any questions or if we could be of any assistance, please reach out to me. My name is Shri Gopal Das or Sachindra Prabhu. He will be outside at the table. We will be happy to assist you in any way we can. Hare Krishna. So let's chant one Mahamantra for all the newcomers. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we have two sponsors for tonight's feast. The first one is Pawan Agarwal Prabhu. He was sponsoring on the occasion of, in the memory of his father's disappearance day, which is third disappearance day. So Pawan Agarwal Prabhu, he was here. Please come. Thank you, Pawan Prabhu, for sponsoring tonight's feast, and we pray for the protection of your father. Hare Krishna. Would you like to say a few words?
Hare Krishna. So my name is Pawan Agrawal, and I'm accompanied here with my wife, my lovely daughter, she's right there, my brother, his family, and few people online. 3 years ago to date, on 17th of September, my father departed his body from Vrindavan. He was 96 at the time, for Lord Krishna's Dham. Hardly a 7th grader, I won't take very much time. Hardly a 7th grader. My father was no ordinary man. Throughout his life, he made other people successful and quietly took all the pain for himself. His memory serves as a North Star for me and inspires me to face my challenges of life. I am immensely proud of him. Wherever you are, Babuji, in the universe, we miss you here. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Prabhu, just wait for a second. Thank you for your heartfelt offering, and especially the written offering, which is, these days is very tough. People don't write, but thank you for your heartfelt offering. And this is a small gift from us. Hare Krishna. And the next sponsor is Bhakta Shravan. Please, Bhakta Shravan, Prabhuji, please come forward. If you haven't seen, you might have seen Bhakta Shravan lately, So he has joined UC Berkeley, right? And that's why you see him more often here. So he is coming somewhere from East Coast? Delaware. Okay. And I believe I got the news that today is your birthday. 2 days ago. That's okay. We still celebrate. It's the same week. So wish you a very, very happy birthday. And we pray for your spiritual journey and all your well-being and all the auspicious in your life. Thank you for sponsoring the feast. Hare Krishna. Now we would like to have you give us a speech.
I don't have any speech prepared, sorry. Okay. Hare Krishna, yeah, today, day before yesterday was my birthday. I don't have a speech prepared or anything, but I just would like to request the blessings of all the devotees, everybody, so that I can progress further in my spiritual path, so that I can become a better devotee, or even a devotee in the first place, and a better devotee as well, and so that I can progress in my sadhana. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Very good. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Shravan Prabhu. Yeah, thank you. So what's coming up next Friday? Any guesses? Okay, that's advance. So yes, next Friday we will have Radhastami's appearance celebration. The email will go out with the timings and the details about the program. So watch out for the email. If you are not subscribed to email, please reach out to me. We'll add you to the email list. So we will see you all again on Friday. Hare Krishna. Here at ISV, we have a program called Kirtan Melos, led by Govind Prabhu. So he will have a small announcement regarding that program. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, everyone. So this is just a small appeal to everyone. And we want to inform and tell you more about our unique offering called Kirtan Melos. ISKCON is all about spiritual education and giving a unique experience through Kirtan and, Harikatha. So you all experience that here. You have the option of replicating that experience at home also for any kind of auspicious occasion. For example, bereavement occasion like this, or birthday, anniversary, or if parents are coming from India, it's a very good experience for them as well. Or you have a house, you purchase a new home, so housewarming, or you just want to have experience purification at home. You have like bad vibes coming, you want to just feel good. But no, it's serious, right? So kirtan uplifts your spirits. So we do it on Saturday morning or evening or even Sunday morning, and 4 to 5 devotees come to your home, and we request that you have about 8-10 families, gather them so that you become agent of change. You participate in Lord Chaitanya's movement, and you help spread Harinam and teachings of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's a couple hours of here, and we can customize the experience for you also. So you can get in touch with me. I'll be outside, and we have testimonials, and we have FAQs. So it's a pretty structured process. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Shreya. So Shreya will announce today's cooks.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, the cook was led by Ananda Vrindavan Mataji with the help of Sri Ram Prabhu, Shyamakunda Mataji, Shyama Bhakta Prabhu, Mansi Mataji, Divyananda Prabhu, Arushi Mataji, Padma Mataji, Sushmita Mataji, Hitesh Prabhu, Balaram Prabhu, and Gopi Priya. And cleaning was led by Amit Prabhu and the team. Hare Krishna.
Okay, now we'll go to Prasad Sevaya prayers. Any from the youth team would like to lead? Yeah.
Sharira Vidya Jodendriya Gayeka Gire Pele Vishaya Sakoe Karmade Jivayati Lobha Sudurmati Yagi Jida Kardina Samsare Krishna Badodoya Tori Bari Jivajai Prasade Govinde Nama Pranami Vaishnave Sapa Punya Vitamraja Vipasana Vijayate Prasade Sarva Dukhana Anirasya Pradayate Vasana Sita Soyasi Yuti Parya Vajita Kripayopa Bhakta Shakanta Asalanta Rachita Vijishta Koshi Rodasa Savamayam Jivimai Bhagavati Mahaprasade Ki Please come take prasadam.
Prasadam will be served in the parking lot. Hare Krishna.